Who's going to win the Overwatch World Cup? Well, South Korea. Right, guys, I'll see you next time. Toodles. Okay, I guess I should make a proper video. Let's go from the top. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Josh. And today we're going to talk our way through the various teams of the Overwatch World Cup and figure out who's going to be coming first, or perhaps who's going to be coming in second place, or even third due to how the brackets are laid out. Don't worry, we will cover all of this. As the Overwatch World Cup approaches, well, you should be interested. Hopefully you're excited for it as well, because this is the first big taste of pro-level Overwatch that we've had for a little while if you don't follow things like Contenders Trials or some of the smaller tournaments dotted around. Now, for those of you not familiar, of course, there will be 8 countries involved in the tournament playing through a bracket format. It is single elimination as well, so there are no second chances. What does this mean? It means that, for example, if the United States ends up beating the United Kingdom somehow, I can't imagine how that would happen, then South Korea would then be their next opponent, unless Australia beats South Korea, which is, frankly, even more farcical than the first situation I proposed. Okay. Which means that South Korea have to face the United States, which means the United States probably, realistically, don't have a good chance at second place, unfortunately. Personally, I'm not a big fan of single elimination tournaments, but BlizzCon only lasts a weekend, so you can't be too fussy. So let's look at the teams. Why are South Korea so strong? Why are South Korea so dominant? The simple truth is that they tend to have the best players in every role, and they tend to take tournaments like this more seriously than everybody else. There might be a slight difference here, however, as the United States has seemingly stepped up their level, but South Korea definitely the team to beat, with powerhouses such as the one and only Jonak, with Carpe as well available to them. They have swapped a couple of players for this grand final stage, which is Fletter swapping in for Sabiobi, which by most people's track is going to be a downgrade, but what I will say is that Sabiobi's hero pool, like his most famous hero pool I suppose, which is the Tracer and Widowmaker, isn't quite in meta at the moment. At the moment we're seeing more like Sombra players, for example, being dominant. We don't really know where Fletter's going to fit into this team, but changing Sabiobi out I think is a loss, but still this is a very scary roster and don't underestimate any of them. Like Carpe alone is just extremely dangerous no matter what he's going to be playing on, and Jonak on Zenyatta or Ana, he was actually mostly known as an Ana player back in his time in Korea, will be a deadly third DPS for this roster. South Korea are 100% the team to beat, and their first opponents are the esteemed, the grand, the noble Australians. Now, if I had to name which is the weakest team in this tournament, I would probably say France out of bitterness, but no, I would say Australia. Okay, Australia are coming into this the absolute 100% underdogs. They know it, I'm sure they know it, and they're going up against South Korea first. If you're an Australian fan, cheer your head off for them, celebrate every teamfight win, celebrate every single kill, but realistically what you are looking for here is to not get stomped into the ground. Unfortunately for Australia, I think the biggest impact they're going to have on this tournament is, well, the mark they're going to leave on the road as South Korea runs them over. They do have Custer available to them, of course, leading the team, playing on the support role, and he is, by all accounts, a very well-rounded, very esteemed team leader, but unfortunately he's going up against Koreans who are at the top of their game. It's going to be tough. It will be the greatest upset known to esports history, perhaps, if South Australia does manage to knock out South Korea, and everybody else in the bracket will celebrate them as heroes for doing so, but I don't quite see it happening. Joining them on this side of the bracket is the United Kingdom versus United States matchup. Now, unfortunately, I took off my fanboy hat for this video and will try and be as unbiased as possible, and I will say, resoundingly, that the United States is the stronger team. Oh god, that hurt to say. And yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of true. At the moment, the United States, perhaps out of everybody in the group stage, had the strongest performance, probably by far. To be honest, they played some of the more complicated strats, they played intricate strats, and they played them extremely well. They played towards the current meta as well, which hasn't really changed much since the group stage. 3-3 comp is still going to be a very big deal, as will Doomfist, as will Sombra, as will what we call Cycle comp, which is normally like a Sombra and Ana comp with a couple of extra DPS sprinkled in there just to make things interesting. What this means is that the United States, with a major Doomfist player like Hydration available to them, with an impeccable off-tank like Space available to them, they are going to have a really formidable roster. Now, they are going up against the United Kingdom, who, you know, we are the noble lions. We are going to do extremely well, no doubt. but we are the weaker team on paper, unfortunately. Not to sell us short, Boombox is a scary player. Boombox is absolutely a huge threat, but he's also probably going to be the target of focus pretty much non-stop. I will say that Kib is often undersold as well on the DPS role, has been performing exceptionally well in that role on British Hurricane and in Team UK in general, so I'd like to see a big performance out of Kib. And of course, never underestimate Mikey A either. Mikey A, known Lanimal, definitely sort of the true terror, as he hopefully will come out swinging on stage. Of course, a lot of intelligent players on Team UK as well. Smex, for example, a very noted, very well-respected, very well-rounded diva player, but also very, very sharp in-game. And Fusions, who is joining the team instead of Christopher, as Christopher moves on towards a coaching career. Fusions now adding an extra British Hurricane element to the team. Might even improve team synergy slightly, as that team has smashed their way through Contenders Trials. I will say it would be a surprise to see Team UK come out on top and beat the United States, but the US looked so clean in the group stages, it will be hard to imagine that they've gotten much worse, and unfortunately I have to give it to the United States here in terms of advantage. Trust me, that hurt me a lot more than it hurt you to say. Moving on to the other side of the brackets, we have China versus Finland in... Okay, I'm going to be mildly controversial perhaps in the quote-unquote analyst community here and say that a lot of people I think are overselling China. Now, don't get me wrong, the Chinese region does produce some talents, and there are some of those talents present on this team. Guxue, for example, is an extremely formidable main tank player, and Shai has been coming up and rising in the Chinese sort of region as a stronger and stronger DPS player. But when he goes up, and when these teams go up against Western teams or Korean teams, they tend to seem to be lacking. I don't really see that as changing. This is a team that struggled against Australia, for example, at their qualifier, and sure, I think they can improve, but can they improve enough to beat a team like Finland, who I think are undersold quite often, with some incredible talents on their roster? Linksa and Taimu alone should be names that strike fear into anyone's heart, and I'm expecting some big plays out of them. Now, notably, Linksa is mostly known for his Widowmaker play, and it is not a Widowmaker meta at the moment, but she still works in certain places as well, and Linksa, no stranger to picking up Genji every so often as well, and flexing around onto stuff like Zarya when needed be as well. Finland are a roster I think that you need to be a little bit worried about, especially if you are in these sort of middle of the pack teams like China, like the UK, like France. Finland is actually a team that could put up respectable performances. I also have major doubts on if China can handle Finland's tank players. Notably, they are most of the old ninjas in pajama roster, and that is going to be pretty scary if they start breaking out the GOATS comp. To round out that side of the bracket, we have France versus Canada, and, well, Canada going to be one of the giants of this tournament. They are looking good for another second place finish with the bracket laid out quite nicely for them. Don't get me wrong, France is a threat to Canada. France has a very versatile team available to them. They can play a number of different styles. They have, for example, Nico, formerly of Eagle Gaming, now signed on to Paris. He was part of the greatest 3-3 comp running team on the planet, Eagle Gaming, and made their 3-3 comp extremely formidable when they went up against Team UK. So definitely a team to be scared about, but Canada has been taking this extremely seriously. They have something to prove, it feels like, and they have some huge talents available to them. For example, in the Genji Wars, Agilities by far outclasses AKM, and Genji is actually very important in this current meta. Sure, for example, I think might outclass Soon slightly as well on that DPS role. Not to sell anyone short, though, like France does have Poco available to them, an incredible diva player who will be putting in solid performances, but also in terms of like supports as well. France, they do have sort of the elephant in the room, which is wins, and I think any weak link on France, Canada will exploit to no end, and Canada should be the stronger team coming out of that match. What does this mean? Well, unfortunately, if I had to power rank the teams, I would say that South Korea probably in first, the United States in second, Canada in third, and then it gets a little bit murkier as you start going down the ranks. But I would perhaps say with Australia curbing at the bottom end, China in seventh, and the United Kingdom perhaps in sixth or fifth, depending on how well you rate Finland. Unfortunately, with how the brackets have laid out, well, the United States might be destined for a third place finish, knocked out once again relatively early in the tournament by South Korea. I'd love to see them try and go further, however, I like seeing top quality Overwatch no matter what. But if you think I'm wrong, or if you think that I'm underestimating a team, do let me know in the comments, and do let me know, like, and I'm curious comments, I'm curious to see, right? Let me just one-to-one with you here. I'm curious to see if, if I said your team wasn't the greatest, did you feel anything with that? Did you feel a spark of national pride? Did you feel a spark of that fan nature kicking in and going, whoa, 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 hang on, yeah, I'm Australian, I think we're really good. Like, if you felt that, I really hope you do. I really, really hope you do, because that's what the Overwatch World Cup is about as well. It's inspiring the flames of being a fan, of enjoying the tournament, of enjoying just embracing that thing. I know with Team UK, for example, with me and Styr out there, we were cheering our heads off. And we made a point of just being fans while we were out there, just embracing that feeling, embracing that camaraderie. Despite a sea of Frenchmen behind us, we were cheering until our voices were hoarse every single time the UK did something even moderately good. And to me, that's what the World Cup is ultimately about. It is something for the fans to enjoy, it is something for people to rally behind, and hopefully you guys are doing just that. Alright guys, I have been Josh as one voice amongst many, and I'll see you next time. Toodles.